And not to belabor it, but they say they have no legitimacy because they weren't elected by the people. There was no majority agreement by society to put them in that office. So what is our response to those who revolt based on rulers having obtained authority without consensus from the majority or without a majority vote?
The scholars mention three basic ways of people coming into power as rulers, and that being legitimate and it is established. The first way is by al-istikhlaf, that the leader, before the change of leadership, he identifies the next leader and he appoints him. Then the second way is by the consensus of the people of knowledge and the people of good understanding, that they select someone amongst themselves from the better of the people and put him forward, and they agree on him and they give him the pledge of allegiance. And thirdly is by ghalaba. Thirdly is by overtaking. Ghalaba is overtaking. Yeah, to overtake a ruler. That doesn't mean it's permissible, but look at again how Islam is preserving the society. Say you're in a Muslim society, you're happy with your ruler, everything's fine, and you hear on the news, today the ruler was assassinated and a new party is in the government buildings and they have come into the positions of power and they are now running all the different ministries.
Coup d'etat.
A coup d'etat, right? An overtaking. It was a military overtaking. Okay, and it's established now. These people are now in the positions and they have the keys to those places and they are now running the government from the heads of ministry. All right, what are we going to do? It was unjust and it was not permissible. So what are we going to do? Get the other guy back? When we decide we're going to get the first guy back, how are we going to do that? Except by revolting against the rulers and bloodshed and fighting. And yes, it wasn't right, and yes, we didn't like it. But what are we going to do in this case? The scholars of Islam say by ghalaba, by overtaking the position by force, the leadership settles into place like that, and it's valid. Meaning that it is recognized and must be followed. If we said no, then it would go on, getting it back from him, and he gets it back from them, and then they go back and forth until the society again has crumbled and there is no safety for anyone. So the question was...
So they strip away their legitimacy because they say they weren't elected.
They weren't elected. The issue about elections, and that's based on a modern misconception promoted by the likes of Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimun, the Muslim Brotherhood sect, that they say voting is essential and you have to have the Muslims all vote, or the majority of the voters have to approve of the leadership, and if the majority don't approve, then that's an illegitimate leadership. And this is based on non-Muslim politics. It's not based on Islam. This is based on non-Muslim politics. Non-Muslim politics of democracy. And democracy is the majority vote gets the rule. The majority vote changes the law. The majority vote is the thing that must be implemented and followed. It's built on the concept of human beings being guided enough to make their own decisions about what is best for them. In that is disbelief. How is that disbelief? We don't have intellects. We don't know what's good for us. Not because of that. It's because Allah Ta'ala has revealed a governing system in the book and the Sunnah, and has required us to refer to that for judgment. And He is our Creator, and He knows more about what is best for us. Look at the reality in front of you. The majority of certain cities may be homosexual. The majority of certain cities may be involved in certain crimes, and will say there is no problem with this crime. And so by a majority vote, that becomes halal. What was haram 10 years ago becomes halal by a majority vote. So when the majority of the people are astray, then the laws change to justify what is astray and call it guidance, and call it good manners and acceptable behavior. And if you were to obey the majority of the people on earth, they would lead you away from the path of Allah. So where do we get that the majority is going to be the guided opinion? وَأَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. How many verses in the Quran does Allah dispraise the majority? They don't give thanks, they don't have understanding, they're fasiqs, and so on. So then how, upon what basis would democracy work or be acceptable in Islam when we've been told by the Creator of the people that the majority of the people are astray? The majority of the people don't give thanks. Very few of the people give thanks, and so on. So if the majority of the people are astray, we should assume by default that the majority vote is going to be astray. That the majority and what they want is going to be in contradiction to what's best for people. Why? Because the majority of the people are astray. Why do we think that the majority is going to be upon guidance? The majority has never been upon guidance in reality. So to say that the majority of the people have not accepted such an imam, and there's been no vote to see who the majority would favor, and people are just insisting on them being the rulers, these kinds of claims are based on the kufr of democracy. The disbelief of believing that democracy is better than Islam. In Islam, you hear and you obey your leader. And you don't say, well, that's for 4 years. We hear and we obey for 4 years. At the end of those 4 years, we have to have an election. That's the one who's not judging by what Allah sent down. The one who says when 4 years is over, we have to have a vote. The one who says that does not judge by what Allah sent down. Right? And by his own misapplication of that, he's a disbeliever. And we would say in reality, if he truly believes that that is the correct way to run governmental affairs by majority vote, then he is a disbeliever. Because he is turning his back on the Islamic guidance that Allah Ta'ala had sent down. And Allah Ta'ala knows best.
Jazakallahu khairan.